back to Allison Customs Project Car TV. This is another Tool Bag Tuesday, and what I have for you today is the Power Probe 3. And we're not sponsored on this one. I own this. I have had it for many years. When the 3 came out, pretty early buyer on it, and I'd been kind of coveting buying one of these Power Probes for a while when this one came out, and at the time you could get it in carbon fiber. It comes in a whole kit. And I've bought some extra items over the years. I bought it's got like a 12 or a 14 foot cord on it, and I bought an extension cord that lets you basically hook the leads up to a battery under the hood and work on taillights on the car, and probably on something as big as like a 70s Cadillac. The next question is, what is it? It is a DC electrical tester, and it's got a switch on here. It's got a bell, a little oral alert. It's got I think it's a 10 amp circuit breaker in it that gets reset on the side. So using this, if I touch this probe to a positive power source, I get a red light and I get told how many volts it is. And currently this battery's got 10.3 volts on it. If I go to a ground side, there it goes, I get a green minus sign, but I don't get any indication of voltage. It just says 0.0. Otherwise, this tip is just a probe, and it's no different than any other test light or anything else, other than it is telling you what voltage you have and whether it's positive or negative in polarity. Now, if I want to go to the front of the car and test a circuit, there's a extra alligator clip that comes right up at the top with the probe, and I can clip that onto a ground circuit. It is only for ground, and all it's doing is providing me a lead from the ground all the way through the device to right up here near the test probe. And then I could put in the case of these lights, I could hook up to the circuit where the lights are. And right now, because this is an incandescent bulb, the ground signal is coming through my probe's test lead all the way through the filaments and back up to this. And I'm saying, and my tester is telling me I have a negative polarity or ground polarity source. If I push the rocker switch to the ground side, the negative, I get nothing. Nothing changes on the display. If I go to the positive side, I'm now pushing 12 volts through the probe, and I can see my lights light up, and I can tell I'm down to 9.8 volts running these lights. So it's a tester, and it's a method to put power on a particular circuit. Now let's say that the positive side of this circuit was already hooked up, but we didn't have a good ground. I could either ground it by hooking it to my alligator clip. The lights come on. I know that the lights needed a ground in that case, but the power probe has been bypassed. We're not really using it for anything. So the other thing is I could hook the test probe to it, and right now, because there's positive voltage here coming through, it goes through the filaments of the lights and works its way back down the ground signal. I'm actually getting an indication that there's positive voltage on this at 10.2 volts. Now, if I push positive, the lights don't light up, nothing changes. It's just like when I had the reverse polarity set up and I hit the ground side. But if I hit the negative side or the ground side, I'm forcing negative polarity through the test probe, and the lights light up. So you can use it on both systems, positive or negative, and it gives you a method to have the test probe hooked up to a battery at the front or the back of the car and be working on the opposite end or on a stereo up under the dash. And then as an additional feature, it has 2 LEDs here to light up the area that you're working. There's all kinds of accessories you can add, and where they go is you take off the test probe, and then all these different items will plug in here. So maybe you need to put an alligator clip on here and you want to test something 3 feet up under the dash somewhere, and you can't get the test probe actually to it, but you can get an alligator clip to it. You can do that, and then you can use the rocker switch to test the circuit. There's another item, or a couple items. These are additional test probes, and they're pretty cool. So let's say you have a big, or well, any size wire, because it comes with two. So one of these test probes has a very small opening, the other one has a much larger opening. So we've got a fairly large piece of wire here, and you would plug this into the top of the power probe, and then you unscrew this black threaded piece, catch your wire inside here, and then screw the black part back together. And as you keep screwing that in, once it gets tight, what it's done is put a sharp point through that wire. So this wire is part of our circuit now. We plug it into our power probe. It's telling us that there's a ground signal right there, and it does not register voltage on the ground side, but it will tell you that there's a ground on that circuit, and you've now probed into that. If it was on the positive side of our circuit, so let's say the wire was broken and we're trying to decide if this is the problem down here, we could probe in and we could push 12 volts to it and force the lights to light up, and we know our circuit is then functioning correctly and we need to fix the broken end of the wire. So it's a cool little feature, and it leaves a pretty small hole. See if you can even see the hole in it. Yeah, right there. So it leaves a fairly small hole where it does go in and probe the wire, but you would put a piece of heat shrink over that and move on. There's a green one for the smaller wires, the yellow one for the larger wires, a whole bunch of different extension cords you can buy and add. And so because of the cords and the plugs they use on them, these all have a common size plug, and they work with my voltage meters and other equipment that I have here in the shop. So you don't have to buy a ton of different parts or a ton of different cords if you just kind of make sure when you're buying equipment that everything will use that same power plug or male-female plug. And I have not had a problem for quite a few years finding cords that fit everything. Now then, if you don't want to deal with trying to get to a battery and you just need power source, another nice feature is this has this male-female plug, and you can plug it in here, and it's polarity driven, so you can't plug it in the wrong way. And then you can plug this into a cigarette lighter or a power supply in the dash to work inside the car without having to actually get under the hood. So it's another nice little feature. And that's it. This is the Power Probe 3. I'll put links to the description for this one. And I kind of bought one of the fancier versions, so I'll also put links to some of the little less expensive versions. But I do recommend the Power Probe versus some of the knockoff brands, just because I've had this Power Probe 3 going on probably 10 years now, maybe 12, and zero issues. And I mentioned earlier it has a circuit breaker in the side, so if you overload it or you reverse the polarity and you short it out, it will just pop the circuit breaker. You correct your wiring, push the circuit breaker back in, you're ready to go back to work. I've had it pop multiple times when I've messed things up or when I found a short, but I've never had it not reset and be ready to work. And like I said, I've had it about 12 years. So highly recommend the Power Probe 3. Links in the description. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you again next time on Tool Guys.